Hello, fellow compounders. There are many companies that don't pay dividends. So what do you do if you live off your investment portfolio and you own stocks that don't pay dividends? In this video, I'll share two things. First, I'll show you how to obtain dividends from stocks that don't pay them. And second, I'll share some pearls of wisdom about dividends that I learned from Warren Buffett. This video is for educational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. I am not your financial advisor and you are responsible for your own financial decisions. Part 1. How do we get dividends from stocks that don't pay dividends? As you may know from previous videos, dividends don't increase your net worth. When a dividend is paid, the value of the stock is reduced by the amount that is paid out. It's like moving money from one pocket to the other. Therefore, as a rational investor, it shouldn't matter whether or not your stock pays dividends. However, some investors would like to receive dividends from their investments. So, if you own stocks that don't pay dividends, like Berkshire Hathaway, AutoZone, Markel, or Alphabet, how do you go about extracting dividends from non-dividend paying stocks? It is very simple. Let me show you how. Let's say that you're a shareholder of Berkshire Hathaway Class B shares, BRKB, and you own 100 shares worth around $30,000. Berkshire doesn't pay dividends, and you'd like to get a 4% annual dividend from Berkshire. So, very simple. All you have to do is every quarter sell 1% of the shares that you own. In this case, you would sell 1 share per quarter this year. So the sale of 1 share will get you around $300 of cash, assuming that the price of the stock didn't change much. So there you have it. But wait a minute. This worked because we had 100 shares. What happens if the following year, when you only have 96 shares? Because remember, you sold 4 shares the previous year, and now you would have to sell 0.96 shares or 1% of your shares for every quarter. So that's easy. Just follow the same process, but you'll need to use a broker that allows you to trade fractional shares. Not all brokers can do fractional shares at this time. Fidelity, M1 Finance, SoFi, and Robinhood can. Eventually, I think all brokers will have the ability to trade fractional shares. Part 2. Warren Buffett's pearls of wisdom about dividends. Warren Buffett, in his 2012 letter to Berkshire Hathaway shareholders, explained how creating your own dividends by selling shares of Berkshire is better than receiving dividends from Berkshire. Let me repeat. Selling shares of Berkshire to create dividends is better than receiving dividends from Berkshire. I'll paraphrase Buffett's example, but you'll need to pay attention and, if necessary, rewatch the video as you need to. So, let's assume that you and Buffett are equal partners in a business that has $2 million net worth, and the business earns 12% return on tangible net worth, or the equivalent of $240,000 a year. And you can expect it to earn the same 12% on reinvested earnings, what we think of as return on invested capital. Also, there are outsiders who are always willing to pay or to buy into the business at 125% of net worth. Therefore, the value of what each of you owns is now $1.25 million. Let's analyze 2 scenarios. Scenario 1, paying out dividends. You want to distribute 1/3 of the earnings as dividends and reinvest 2/3 back into the business. You believe that doing so will nicely balance your needs for both current income and capital growth. So you suggest that the business pays out $80,000 of current earnings and retain $160,000 to increase the future earnings of the business. In the first year, your dividend would be $40,000. Remember, you own half and Buffett gets the other half. So he gets $40,000 also. And as earnings grow and the 1/3 payout is maintained, so too would the dividend. Both dividends and stock value would increase by 8% each year. That is 12% earned on net worth less 4% of the net worth paid out as dividends. After 10 years, your company would have a net worth of $4,317,850. The original $2 million compounded at 8%. And your dividend in the upcoming year would be $86,357. Both you and Buffett would each have shares worth $2,698,856, or 125% of half of the company's net worth. And both of you would live happily ever after, with dividends and the value of your stock continuing to grow at an 8% annually. Scenario 2, no dividends are paid and you'll be using a sell-off approach. Buffett suggests an alternative approach. Under this scenario, you would leave all earnings in the company and each of you sells 3.2% of your shares annually. Since the shares would be sold at 125% of book value, This approach would produce the same $40,000 cash initially, a sum that would continue to grow annually. Buffett calls this option the sell-off approach. Under this sell-off scenario, the net worth of your company increases to $6,211,696 after 10 years. That is the $2 million compounded at 12%. Because you would be selling the shares each year, your percentage of ownership would have declined. So after 10 years, you and Buffett would each own 36.12% of the business. Even so, the market value of your remaining shares would be $2,804,425, about 4% greater than the value of your shares if you had followed the dividend payment approach. This means that your annual cash receipts from the sell-off policy would now be running 4% higher or more than you would have received under the dividend scenario. So voila, that's awesome. You would have both more cash to spend annually and more capital value. And Buffett goes on to point out two benefits of the sell-off approach versus the dividend paying approach. Benefit number one, the sell-off approach gives the investor the option to choose how much profits to take as distribution. Let's look at this in detail. Dividends impose a specific cash out policy upon all shareholders. If, say, 40% earnings is the policy, those who wish to just take out 30% or wish 50% will be thwarted. The sell-off alternative, on the other hand, lets each shareholder make his own choice between cash receipts and capital buildup. One shareholder can elect to cash out, say, 60% of annual earnings, while other shareholders may elect 20% or nothing at all. Of course, a shareholder in our dividend paying scenario could turn around and use his dividends to purchase more shares. But he will be taking a beating in doing so, because he would both incur taxes and also have to pay a 25% premium to reinvest the dividend. Remember, open market purchases of the stock take place at 125% of book value. Benefit number two, it is more tax efficient. In a dividend payout scenario, you would be paying taxes on the $40,000 that are distributed. In the sell-off scenario, you would only be paying tax on the capital gains portion of the $40,000. So let's say that you're taxed at 15% on dividends. That means that you would pay $6,000 on the $40,000 dividend payout. Let's say that you also are taxed at 15% for capital gains. So let's say that the capital gains on the $40,000 sell-off was $4,800. So that means that your capital gains tax would have been $720. That's a huge difference in taxes. $6,000 in taxes for the dividends that you received at the $40,000 dividends versus a $720 tax bill if you did the sell-off approach. This clearly shows that the sell-off policy is dramatically superior to the dividend policy.